I'm under no illusion. We're not going to get everybody to agree, but we don't have to agree. We just have to come together and interact like humans, like find the humanity in each other again.
Nature is in us all, but for some, it defines them. Whether it's untold stories in the backcountry or those exploring their own backyards, we are on the hunt to find those outliers, crafting a life around passion and experience. This is the Outdoor Outlier.
Yeah, man. See ya.
Good to see you, man.
Yeah.
How are you?
Good.
What's going on, Travis?
Good to meet you.
Chris, good to meet you too.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
We got a little small craft advisory.
We're in the river. We're in the river.
That's awesome.
Plugs in, most important thing. This is where the anxiety of every duck hunt starts.
This is Chris Borgatti, a hunter, fisherman, surfer, outdoor adventurer, and conservation advocate. I first met Chris on a Facebook group. I was asking questions about hunting legislation in Massachusetts. He quickly reached out, which turned into multiple calls talking about hunting, conservation, and learning more about his area of work. During those talks about Sunday hunting and public land access, I knew right away I wanted him on the show. And Chris graciously invited us to the North Shore for a duck hunt.
So today we're gonna tuck into a little bit of the closest thing to an oxbow in this kind of situation. I don't like it 100% because the sun will be kind of coming at us when it comes up, but I think it's gonna give us the best setup we can have given the wind and what we're trying to accomplish today. How I do things, to get black ducks to decoy is a challenge, right? They just don't like it. They don't like coming to a decoy spread very often. So we try to keep it minimal.
What can I do?
If you want, grab that bag. Yeah, the bag right there, perfect. Yep. And we can pull that up on shore, and that has all the silhouettes.
Oh, sweet. Got it.
I was surprised to find out that Chris wasn't always a hunter and has only been exploring hunting for the past decade. But his roots go deep in the outdoors. The reality is, anyone who surfs in the winter is out of their mind.
Every minute that I was not at work, I wanted to be out there. I wanted to be chasing trout on a small mountain stream. I wanted to be backpack. I wanted to have a camp stove, and I wanted to be going in the backcountry, chasing waves whenever I could. Get out, drive the 3 hours up to the mountains, or on the weekends, and then drive late and be back at work the next Monday morning. And so that was sort of my lifestyle for a long time. So we are in the Great Marsh, which is a big marsh complex that basically goes from Cape Ann all the way up into New Hampshire, into the New Hampshire coastline. There's a big mix of bird habitat right where we're at. So we're gonna just see what happens. And we got a commuter rail going by.
On the way to work.
On the way to work.
Early in his career, Chris was on that commuter train. He was working at an environmental engineering firm, but not having the impact on the world he wanted. Someone mentioned going into education, and with 2 days left before the school started, his first big career shift happened, teaching high school students science.
What I was able to do in my role as a teacher was much broader than just, being in the classroom. Ran a outdoor adventure type of program. I would take, after school, we'd go fishing. We'd go ice fishing every season. And then I would also take kids on outdoor adventure trips all around the world. Europe, Alaska, Colorado, going fishing, going hiking, going mountain biking, going surfing. All of these different activities in these amazing places, have them have a really amazing experience. Just being in these places was just an awesome part of the job. We are legal. Let's do this. I always say this, and it's never offense, but I will oftentimes call out gun safety. If you see something that I don't see, definitely vocalize it.
Cool.
Hunting kind of came into it accidentally. It was a sort of a question by one of my students to talk about a wild game and hunting as a place to get wild food. And because that was how his family, that's where they sourced all their protein, was from hunting. As I explored the topic, I thought to myself, why am I not doing this?
A lot of us grow up as legacy hunters. Hunting is not something you pick up overnight. It takes time and dedication. Many of us learn this over a lifetime from our fathers and grandfathers as the tradition was passed down through the generations. Chris began the best way he knew how, through research and education. Now it was time to take this idea from the classroom to the field. It was time to become a hunter.
And I kind of had to find my own path. I only had one family member who was a hunter. He took me on my first hunt down in Virginia, classic deer camp rifle hunt, and ever since then I've been hooked.
Single duck. Circling around.
Go to the salt pans.
He was definitely
I try not to make it about how many ducks are hanging off the strap or how big a buck. I try to make it about the experience and convey, what we saw and what it was like and the sunrise, and the memories that we share as outdoors people are huge. Even today, I'm going to be telling the story of how I forgot my shotgun in the truck. Like, how do you forget your shotgun? I've never done that. Oh, you gotta be freaking kidding me.
No gun?
Where's my gun?
All right, let's do that.
We're just stirring up ducks as part of the process.
Yeah, we're just jumping ducks, no big deal.
Yeah, or the ducks decoying in, of course, a minute before legal. And we were 1 minute shy.
1 minute shy of legal shooting light. We had a couple of nice ones come in, but
That was perfect.
we're good boys.
Yep. Like all of those different elements of any good story or any good time outdoors, like that's what it's all about. And I get to be part of that story, just as opposed to like a trip to the grocery store, a cellophane wrapped piece of meat that has no connection. The only consideration that you might have given that animal was how much it weighed and how much it cost. He's fighting the urge to come over here.
See the camera. It's camera shy, not gun shy.
Take him. Nice. Let's give it a second and see what else is going to fly. All right, I think we should go get that before it goes into the channel.
Yeah.
So I am on safe.
Tell me a little bit about, how you got involved in backcountry in general.
Yeah, so I got involved with backcountry hunters and anglers after I started hunting. And through that exploration of kind of the ethics and the history and the conservation role and the ecological role that hunting plays, I kind of got exposed to some of the different conservation groups. And one of the missions that really stood out to me was BHA's, focused on public lands, public waters. Hey, Chris here from Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. Happy Public Lands Month. I'm here to talk about two incentives we've got going on in New York and New England this month. So having public pieces of land, kind of like where we are right now, is critical for us to be able to go find fish, to go find game to chase. And so I became a member and then showed up to an event, and then I got myself involved with planning a little conservation project, and one thing led to another, and I was offered a position on the New England board. I kind of felt like I was at this point in my life where if I have the opportunity, I should take it.
I'm guessing leaving your job was not the easiest thing in the world.
Yeah, it was tough. It was a really tough decision to go with the certainty of the job that I was in. I was working at a fantastic school. It was a private school. I would be walking away from the opportunity for my boys to go to the school tuition free. Frankly, it was going to be a pay cut. Taking a job in conservation with an organization that has a mission like this, with an organization that is sort of big tent and that we're welcoming and we're trying to bring new people in, create a new positive energy around living off the land and hunting and angling and just outdoor recreation, like that's huge. And so, yeah, it was a sacrifice, but I think impact my quality of life, people I get to meet, the places I get to go, the things I get to fight for on a daily basis, I don't regret a second of it.
So we saw some ducks go down over this way. We're gonna kind of, there's one flying right there, Chris.
Do we scare it?
Yeah, BHA is just different. Not only are they responsible for some of the biggest conservation initiatives in North America, but it's young, it's inviting, passionate, and refreshingly apolitical, with members evenly spread out between all backgrounds. Chris embodies this culture, whether it's bringing veterans together in the duck blind or pushing conservation efforts at the State House.
I don't like going to meetings or just going to hearings to advocate for something. I like to try to build relationships. You know, the golf course for conservation is the duck boat. So whether that's state officials, some of our federal managers had the different refuge systems, or biologists, techs, it's just an opportunity for us to kind of connect in the real world, talk to each other as people.
Hunters and anglers have been a huge part of conservation in America. President Theodore Roosevelt, known as the conservation president, knew that our natural resources needed protection. In his writings from the adventures in the backcountry, he not only told the tales of the kill, but also the species and habitats that were disappearing. This type of conservation led to the creation of the White Mountain National Forest in New Hampshire, an area that spans over 750,000 acres and was in danger of deforestation and losing wildlife.
That came together because business people, hunters, outdoor enthusiasts, politicians, loggers, mill workers down here in Amesbury, Lawrence, Lowell, all these people came together, they saw a problem, they had very different perspectives, but yet they were able to sort of set their politics, set their differences aside, and coalesce around this issue of protecting and preserving this place.
Maybe there's another approach where we can be the stewards of this land.
And we're doing that. Like where we're sitting today, like this is a product of people coming together and making the connection that these places are important for wildlife. These places are important for the services that they provide us in terms of cleaning the water. These salt marshes are important for sequestering carbon. So people have stepped up and made the connection that these wild places are important. We need to be able to communicate with each other again. We need to be able to sit across from people with different political views and have conversations. And I'm under no illusion, we're not going to get everybody to agree, but we don't have to agree. The people who are in your life, like, you don't agree with 100%. At least I hope you don't, because like you're living in this horrible echo chamber. We just have to come together and interact like humans, like find the humanity in each other again. Once we start doing that, then I think we'll be able to make headway again at protecting places and protecting animals and species and making a dent in, you know, the big threats to society.
To say that Chris's mission is important is a massive understatement. But with any mission, there are many paths to choose from. He chooses to fight, but the manner in which he fights is what sets him and his mission apart. At the end of the day, he's still a teacher, showing colleagues, friends, and even enemies that there's another way, that finding common ground and setting aside our differences can lead to a greater future. And together we can protect our natural resources and be a generation of outdoor adventurers that give more than we take.
There are people, there are industries that are taking advantage of this time and this divisiveness that we have to their own benefit, and we're going to be left at the end scratching our head wondering why we couldn't come together. I don't want that to happen. I want to, kind of figure out a way to work together again.